When you were growing up in upstate New York, did any of this catch your mind? Astrology, spirituality, energy work? Did any inklings when you were a kid?
As a kid, no, but that's when music came to me. So I'd be on the playground with my friends,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you recall the movie The Parent Trap.
Yes.
Okay, well, this one back in those days starred Haley Mills, and I had a crush on Haley Mills. And so she sang, "Let's get together, yeah, yeah, yeah."
Great song.
And so I would just sing that on the playground. And it's like, oh, well, that's pretty cool.
Is that how like music became one of your languages?
That's one of my languages, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you said on the playground too because I feel like it's infectious.
It is infectious, and that's where you kind of grow into a community,
Yeah.
because that is a community. That's your mini community.
Oh my gosh,
the kids,
yes.
The kids in your neighborhood. And then you kind of navigate on what life is like, with those kids.
Did you gravitate to any like specific instruments or artists or where like obviously that was the beginning of the inspiration?
And so I think a guitar came about when I was 10 years old. And then I started playing guitar. And then, of course, the big revolution in 1964,
Yeah.
when February came around and the Beatles landed in the Ed Sullivan Show. It's like, okay, I can't turn back now. In fact, my band, I have a band right now, and we just did a tribute to the Beatles several weeks ago.
Oh, that's fun.
And
Full circle.
I was in my element because that's the music that shaped my life.
Did you watch it when they were on?
Yes.
I was going to say, I can feel that like you remember that like
I
staring
was
and watching.
There, yeah, well, there, right in front of the TV, and it was just like absolutely magic.
What was magic about it?
The fact that these guys had captivated the world with music, and the music was so uplifting. Now remember that this came like after 1963 when
Right.
all hell was breaking loose in the world.
Yeah.
JFK assassination and all these civil rights movement marches and everything. And then these guys come along with a breath of fresh air, and it was just like, oh man, this is wonderful.
It sounds like something we need now.
Maybe that's why we did it as a band.
Yeah.
And I tell you, after every rehearsal for this gig, I just was like on cloud nine. It was just like, oh man, it's like lively, up-tempo, just beautiful, loving music.
Yeah, I say to people I'm not nostalgic.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lie now
Yeah.
that I'm older because I'm like, I don't think of nostalgia like in this sad way. I think nostalgic of like coming back to that moment of empowerment
Yes.
where you're staring at that TV and you're
Right.
like, this is something important that I'm witnessing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it motivates you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Can you have something that has that kind of lasting value?
Yeah.
My goodness, that's incredible.
So where did this fall with the guitar at 10?
Well, actually, before the Beatles came on the scene, I was playing Del Shannon and some of those earlier songs. And the guitar just said, okay, you got to go electric now.
This is what we're doing.
And that's what we're doing. And my parents, God bless their souls, supported that. And in fact, they gave me my first electric guitar when I was in high school.
And did they have any music inclination at all?
My father played harp and he played a little guitar. He claims he taught me guitar, but I don't know about that.
You're like, well,
Sorry,
give
Dad.
it to him. Yeah, yeah.
But the harp, and I do play harp to this day. And in fact, it's more natural to me now than sometimes guitar is.
How comes?
I just know when to blow in, blow out, and go up and down. It's like,
Like there's more of a chronological step to it.
There's something going on there. It just like seems to move around with it.
Yeah.
So I really won with that harp.
I love that your parents were supportive too.
Yeah, I must admit, they really did their best to expose me to all sorts of the world. And so they didn't try to shelter me at all from it. So that's why I think I have some of the openness. Oh, let's try this, let's try that, let's go down that road. Because I think the world is just too vast to
Yes.
allow any path to go untreaded.
Wait, now I want to know what your big Western Astrology 3 are.
Okay, Ascendant in Libra. Okay, Pisces Moon, Pisces Sun.
I like that we have the water, sun, and moon together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I joke that my Virgo rising is the reason I can keep a job. Like, I was like,
You can think your way through something, right?
yeah, I was like, that's the strategy that has the intensity. It's a vehicle for it.
Yeah,
And I feel like
absolutely.
every time I meet Pisces, it's the same thing of like that depth and that intensity that I
Yeah.
just love.
Oh man, I tell you, yeah, and so I think that was kind of like an undergirding of all the spirituality that was yet to come. That came a little later. So I don't recall any of that actually in my younger youth.
That's kind of nice, though, at the same time. I know something we were talking about before the podcast was like how people find the path.
Yeah.
And there's something nice about having completely different experiences outside of the spiritual realm before you find it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because here you are being like the Beatles and music and
Yeah.
guitar, and I'm
Oh
like,
my
I
gosh.
cannot wait to see how we get to astrology, energy work, and all the incredible things you do.
Oh my gosh. Well, I tell you, and I'm very grateful for the community. Here we go back to community. In college, through Ray, I came into this other community that was into metaphysics. They were into theosophy, and they were reading stuff like Madame Blavatsky, and it's like,
I don't know what that is.
oh my gosh. Well,
I'm like, should I get my notepad out? I'm ready.
No. I'd be a horrible teacher at that. But it was basically a lot of the things that now people talk about as a common language, talking about the soul and how we are as human beings set in what our life's mission is and so forth, and the chakras and all the energy centers that we tap into and relate to one another, and auras and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that was back in the 70s, that was a big thing.
I was going to say, is this the first time you're encountering any of these topics,
Yeah,
though?
it's like, woo! You know, I was confirmed a Methodist, okay? And then I went to an all-boys Catholic school.
I don't mean to laugh. I went to an all-girls Catholic
Oh,
school
there you go. So,
and then went to a Jesuit university.
oh my gosh. Yeah, so after all of that, I guess I was looking for a breath of fresh air and something to open my mind and something that kind of put a perspective on what life was. Because
You
at
make it
that
sound so
time,
graceful.
Huh?
You make it sound so graceful.
well, in retrospect, I can say that. But at the time, I don't know.
Right.
I can remember when Ray would bring his friends around, and the first time he wanted to introduce them to me, I was in my room. And I said, hey, Shayn, come on out. I want you to meet some folks here. And I was literally so insulated at that time that I remember throwing a book out into the living room saying, no. And so that was my response to a meeting. And of course, don't we all encounter that when we want to or are exposed to something that might lead us into like a whole new phase of our life?
Yes.
There's that note, and I mean, that was pretty innocuous. I mean, I didn't hurt anybody with a flying book, but still, my reaction was, oh my gosh, because I think I knew at another level what this was going to lead to.
That is so smart because I think about, I was joking, like, they're like, you're going to a Jesuit university? Like, you are going to...
Yeah.
But I was actually really annoyed how much I loved theology
Oh, yes.
and my philosophy classes. And I kept trying to ignore that little part of me, that whisper, because I'm like, my mom made me a goal. She was like, if you want me to pay for rent, you go to business school. I'm like, business school sounds so good. But it was those inklings of once you start unraveling.
And then that's what it was. It was an unraveling. Because in college then, it's like, okay, the next thing is find all the Hinduism classes, find all the Buddhism classes, take these religion classes.
Yeah.
And I did. And I remember even in the 1970s writing papers on the healings of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And it's like, what am I doing this for? But part of the metaphysical training at that time was healing. And so I was clearing up sinuses back then. It's like, well, this is pretty powerful stuff. And of course, I always tell the story. I was in my living room once, ironing a pair of pants. Back in the day, that's what you do, I guess. And so what happened was the iron just tipped off the ironing board. And so my reflex was to catch that falling iron. Now, I don't know if you've ever captured a falling iron with your other hand, but the darn thing is really hot. And I put it back on the ironing board. Okay, I got to do something about this. So I put my other hand on it, and I directed white light through it, and voila, no welts, no nothing. And so it's like, wow, this is incredible, But was I going to do anything with healing at that time? No, because I had a straight path into the field of broadcasting.
So funny.
And
It
that-
sounds similar where I'm like, nope, I have to be in business. I
Yeah,
have to go this way.
absolutely, yeah.
But one thing I want to ask, because the thing I love about that story is I feel like when people haven't experienced it, they're like, get a grip.
Yeah,
And I'm like, that's how I used to respond because I'm a skeptic at heart.
yeah.
But was that the first time you would use energy work in that way?
Other than clearing sinuses, yeah. But that was a powerful way because it's like, well, what is the consequence of catching a red hot iron in your hand? And so to kind of like work with the laws of nature in a way that kind of puts you back to normal was like, that's pretty potent.
And here you
stuff.
are throwing books at people. Did you tell anyone this happened, or was this, you're like, I got to keep this to myself?
Well, I probably told them, and they probably said, yeah, I can understand that.
Is that metaphysical community in college that was like,
was
yeah,
the
that makes
metaphysical
sense?
community, who, by the way, introduced me to mystical school. And the mystical school is Astrology. They're out in California. And so you would pay $2 a lesson or something, and it's a mail order kind of thing. But you had to be referred by people, and those community of people that I met. Of course, now you can get on Kindle and download them for nothing, or not for nothing. And I started learning more about the mystic arts and this whole idea of who we are energetically as human beings. We're not, every month they mail you lessons and you read them, and then next month you get
It feels
more
like
lessons. They're lessons. They're basically lessons on how the world really works. And when I studied pranic healing years ago, I started getting into pranic healing, I think 14 years ago or so. I realized that the founder of pranic healing, his name is Master Choudhry, was also in the Astara Mystery School at the same time I was.
wow.
So no wonder I had this kind of veering back into those lessons. And so now I'm reviewing the lessons and going, this is pretty potent stuff.
Yeah, something my mentor said to me that deeply annoyed me at the time, as good mentors always do, is she's like, you'll keep coming back to the same circle and find a different path in it.
Absolutely.
And I was like, can you just tell me what you mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can't explain that to someone. To your point, like you go back through those lessons and all of a sudden there's like new things that click or things that stick out. And
absolutely.
Patience is my lesson in this lifetime.
Wow. Yeah. So you must have something doing with Mars in your chart, right?
Ooh, I was about to say, I don't know where my Mars is. We'll have to look it up after. But
Okay, yeah.
I joke astrology didn't pick me because it's too many details. You know, like tarot, I'm like, there's a set amount of cards. They're in a suit. It's nice and clear, intuitively, all that stuff. And then astrology, I'm like, let me look that up again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a different language, for sure. And I remember when I got on that path, and it was, again, during the same period of time. So a lot happened. So if you know anything about the planets, when they make a pass over your natal planets or over your angular sign or your angular houses, things happen. And so what was happening, unbeknownst to me, because I really didn't know much about astrology at the time, was I had Pluto going over my ascendant.
And what does that mean?
Pluto is the planet of transformation. And so I was transformed. Your ascendant is yourself and how you present yourself to the world. And I was basically being regenerated and reformed and purposed in
Was
life.
this during when you were getting these correspondence?
Yeah, that was that. And then the astrology, beginning astrology, and everything was happening in college because of the Pluto.
How did you feel?
I felt wonderful. This was like a whole new area for me, and it just felt natural as well.
When you were kind of in between, what I like to say, like old life and new life, was there any growing pains? You know, you go to college, you have this friend that you're rooming with, you have this whole other life prior to learning all of this knowledge. Like, was there any tension there? Did it feel natural?
Well, of course, you do have to go to classes, and you have to take notes and pass tests and do all that kind of stuff. I was majoring in speech communication. And so I'd get up and give speeches and get riled by the students who were observing and rating me. Because part of my goal was to be in broadcasting. So I thought, well, if I majored in communication, then I can get into broadcasting. Of course, that wasn't true. You can get into broadcasting without majoring in speech.
But those are the fun lessons to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. But it took its toll because, everybody's taking pot shots at you.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I grew up as a shy person, so I'm introverted, basically. And so getting up and giving speeches, that's kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And so, doing that and getting lambasted by your own classmates, it's like, okay, And then I remember there was one speech I gave, and I don't know if you're familiar with the works of Edgar Cayce, but I was studying Edgar Cayce at the time as well.
I was like, we're getting nods from Raven.
Yeah, so that's why I'm looking down. Hi, Raven. The works of Edgar Cayce, he was a famous psychic that lived in the 30s and 40s and would give voluminous readings to people and would access the Akashic records and
yeah.
come back with this information, good for their health, good for their life purpose, good for their career growth.
And for folks who might not know, because I've only actually gotten my Akashic records read once.
Okay.
It was the coolest, weirdest experience I've ever
Sure
had.
it was.
But just for people that are watching, what are the Akashic records?
Akashic records are basically a record of everything, every thought, every little bit that's been done by everybody, everything in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You could learn to read the Akashic records too if you wanted to. Yeah, it's potent stuff for sure, and that it's like this vast library that's available to us. And it's like, whoa, okay, so let's work with that. So the story about Edgar Cayce was he was big on dream interpretation, and so it's like, okay, I'll give that as one of my speeches in the speech class. Oh my gosh, that didn't go over well.
Oh no!
Not only,
Topic-wise, presentation-wise, all of the above.
this is too new agey for even that time, and so it was a dream.
Yeah.
And the dream was I was in the lake back in Lake Champlain, New York City, and I was in the water, and I caught a fish with my feet, and I somehow flipped so that I could show the fish to whoever on shore. Now, you think, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So the interpretation is, well, if you know that we're in the age of Pisces, right? So Pisces is what? The fish. And do you know that when Lord Jesus came on earth and taught, he began the Piscean age. And of course,
Didn't know that, even as someone who grew up.
yeah,
And I think about the Christian symbol with the fish.
yeah.
Like, I never put that together till right now.
Absolutely, yeah, that's what it is. And so I was very proud that I had captured that kind of concept, that feeling, that part of my life. And I was proud enough to show everybody. Of course, if you know anything about feet, that's represented by the last sign of the zodiac, Pisces.
Wow.
Pisces rules the feet.
I love they couldn't make it clearer for you. They're like, just in case you don't get it.
Well, I thought
we're just gonna really throw this in.
I thought that was pretty cool too, and I thought, wow, I'll make a speech about it. But it's like, what?
What were people saying when you were giving the speech?
Well, it was more. I threw those reviews out a long time ago because I didn't want to hold on to that energy. So.
Nor should you.
Yeah, but I was undaunted because I knew I was on the right path. So.
How did you know?
It was just an inner knowing. I think I have this inner knowing that guides me through life. Neptune is a spiritual planet.
Yeah. I was about to say, when you were kind of putting all these topics and things were unfolding, did you ever have moments of doubt or anything that made you pause?
No, I can't say that.
It's beautiful.
Where do you go to? You have all this in front of you. Where do you go? What else can satisfy you as much as the spiritual search?
I think you're wiser than I was in the unfolding. I was like, no, that's okay. Thank you so much. So I'm like fascinated to hear this because I think people being in touch with that inner knowing, I've had it since I was a kid too.
Oh, yeah?
And I think about when I was little and things that would happen, and I look back like, how did I know?
How did you know?
What to do? Like, where did that
Just
come
know,
from?
And then you go from there. So obviously we want to question. We want to know why. We want to get to the bottom of things. But there comes a point where you say, I've got to go with this.
Yeah.
Because it feels right. And when it feels right, that's your soul talking to you. And so that's how I figured it out. And so here I am.
Are there any, I was going to say symptoms like it was a sickness, so that was probably the wrong word. But are there any indications when you have that right feeling? Like, is it in your gut? Is it your mind? Is it thoughts? Is it calmness?
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't have any clairvoyance. I don't have any clairaudience. I don't have any of that. Maybe a clairsentience.
Yeah.
It's a feeling. It's like, this is the place to go. So when I got contacted by Raven, I said, this is the place to go. I didn't have to, because I knew who I was speaking to on the other end, who I was communicating with. She was on the path, and I knew that she was doing the right thing. So it's like, okay, I want to be on board with this. So
I love that.
off off we go. It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, down the yellow brick
Right.
road.
Once I started realizing if I just keep walking forward, I usually end up where I'm supposed to. I was really overcomplicating it for a long time. I'm like, if I just
And we
keep
do that.
walking.
Yeah, the mind gets in the way a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and so
That's why I ask. I think I have a lot of friends and clients who are like, I don't have an intuition. I was like, first of all, that's not possible.
that's not possible.
And second of all, it is really interesting to try to get to the core of how do you get back to it. So the fact that you have this like amazing consistency with it, I think is so beautiful. And I also think it's rare.
Oh, thank you. I would like to think that everybody has that capability.
Yes.
Because we're all blessed with that, whether we acknowledge it or not. And sometimes it comes to us, we were talking about with Raven earlier, how some people have like really stark changes in their life. I really can't say I had a stark change. I mean, this was all an unfoldment, a gradual unfoldment. And
I'm like, lucky you.
I
Little
know-
brag there.
I know, knock on wood. What can I say? So,
But you know what I really believe now, as someone who I joke had their metaphorical house burned down to get on the path? They whisper, and then they knock, and then they send a letter, and then they open a window. And I look back at all of the more calming signs that I
Right.
probably ignored.
Right.
And it did have to be something big.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't have to have this huge, scary moment or life-altering or tragic to find the path. And I think you're a living embodiment of that.
Well, I like to think that it's worked for me, and it's not to say that I'm done, because when you say you're done, then you're done. Oddly enough, yeah, it's like you don't need that raft to come to your house when you're on the roof, escaping a flood.
Yeah.
It's like grab all the signs that you can, and so it's like I think that's part of openness. And so when you're open to life, then you're open to all possibilities. Doesn't mean that all possibilities can work out for you. You go down the road a little bit and say, I think I'll go back.
And it would be no fun if they did.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm astounded at you as a young man in college standing up there. It sounds like a nightmare, like people have these nightmares of like, I'm in my underwear in front of the class. And that, like you experience that.
Yeah.
And for you to be like, no, I know what I'm doing and I know
Yeah.
where I'm going.
Well,
It's amazing.
Well, I play music in the church. And so this Sunday, I'm going to sing a song by George Harrison. If you don't know where you're going, any road's going to take you there. So eventually, you're going to end up where you're going to end up. Whether you're conscious of it or not, that's a different story.
Did that philosophy help carry you? Because here you are, you're going towards broadcasting.
Yeah.
You're in this amazing mystic school. All these things are unfolding. So when you graduate, how do you make those decisions?
Well, I stayed the course. It's like, okay, my dream job, broadcasting, boom. However, after I achieved everything I needed to achieve in broadcasting, it was time for a change.
Where did you first work?
A radio station in Buffalo, New York called WWO Country Station. So it wasn't
Are you a country music fan?
No.
I'm thinking Beatles country. Country
Yeah,
Beatles,
no,
Beatles country.
Well,
Electric guitar
that's a
country.
stretch, yeah. Well, the station I really wanted to work at was a powerhouse rock and roll station right up the street. That was my dream. That's why I came to Buffalo. I wanted to work at WKBW because I used to listen to that station at night because that's when the signals, carried much stronger. I used to listen to that hundreds of miles away where I was living. I said, I don't know what that is. And I didn't. I ended up down the street at Country Station, which is okay. Started out midnight shift.
Of course.
I
I was about to say, I was like, as one does.
got to start somewhere, but it's okay. It's my break in broadcasting. And then moved up the different shows, the evening show, and then the afternoon show, and then finally promoted to primetime morning history. And at the time, it was the 24th largest market in the
That's
United States.
incredible.
And so it's like, you're talking to all these people.
Yeah.
I was doing it.
You,
And
an
so
introvert, being like, I'm going to talk to the whole country for my
I'm
career.
like, yeah, what the heck? And Tammy Wynette.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what kind of veered me into counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Would call and they'd say, can you play Tammy Wynette, Divorce, which is one of her top songs. It's like, why would you want to hear that song?
Yeah, did you say, are you okay?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this is a little bit more meaty and substantive. I'm entertaining people, sure, giving them a good time and everything, but I think if I were to sit down with people one-to-one versus one-to-many, I think I would have more of an impact.
There you are listening to the whisper again. Like, here you are at a country radio station.
I know.
You're like, what if? Like, it just starts taking you in a different direction.
I know. So I said, okay, I quit my job. And I went.
Did you have a plan when you quit?
So my grandfather had died, 4th of July, actually, in 1977.
Oh, wow, we're coming up
And
on the
so,
anniversary.
yeah, I know. It's coming up on that.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother was living all by herself
Mm.
on the house by the lake. So I said, I quit. I'm going to go up and be with Grandma, and I'm going to help her through this, and I'm going to be on the house by the lake. And so, but I didn't know at the time I was going to do counseling. So I did say to myself during the intervening months, I said, I've got to do something now. What's it going to be? And I looked at the offerings at the State University in Plattsburgh, and I saw that they offered a program in counseling. And for some reason that resonated. And I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do.
That's so beautiful. I'd love to ask, were you close to your grandma before you moved in to be with her during that time?
She was a sweet soul. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, if there's any embodiment of love and caring and compassion, she was it.
And this is your grandparents or your dad's side?
Yes.
I know you're saying that was kind of the family you...
Absolutely.
I think that's so beautiful you got that time with her.
Oh my gosh. I can't. And it was a heartbreak for me to say, okay, I have to leave now.
Yeah.
Which was several years later, so that I could, I'm fast forwarding through a whole bunch of different scenarios here, but, fast forward so I could come out to Colorado.
I think there's something, for me, I was incredibly close to my grandparents. I have my grandpa, like a picture of us tattooed on my arm.
Oh.
And my grandma was my best friend, and we would talk every Sunday like clockwork. And let me tell you, she grew up like very, very Catholic.
Really?
So was my grandpa. And so I'd call her and be like, I'm doing this. And you'd expect her to be like,
Yeah, what?
devil's work. Didn't say that at all. She was like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because she died, oh my gosh, we're almost at the anniversary myself, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
3 years ago, and it was before everything crashed down.
Oh my gosh.
And I think like I was so lucky to have her on the other side because it actually was more helpful than having her here, even though selfishly, human-wise, we want them to stay forever.
I know.
So I love that you had that quality time with her.
Absolutely, and it was a blessing, and I look back on all the people that contributed to where I am now, but she's right at the top of the list for sure.
Was there something like a memory or something that sticks out during that time with her when you're by the lake?
Oh gosh, that's where all our family would get together and just have reunions, and then go in swimming and catch fish and bring them in.
Haha, catching fish.
Yeah, catching fish.
I'm sensing some themes here.
Well, being a strong Pisces, I have to say that.
Yeah.
So and just enjoying the water, and the water being the source of replenishment of the soul, and finding that. Okay, I'm kind of flipping over to my Guam years now.
Yeah.
But in Guam, I had one of the toughest jobs of my life was being a 7th grade counselor to 700 7th graders plus special needs kids.
Yeah.
That burned me out.
By yourself, it sounds like.
By myself, I was the only counselor for those people. And so I'd find myself at lunchtime going to the ocean, talking about the salt water.
Yeah.
Going to the ocean and then just replenish myself with that energy and then going back and rolling it out again.
So I'm guessing this was part of your training when you were studying psychology.
Yeah, so I'd gotten my master's in counseling by that time.
Yeah.
And so...
Oh, so this is after your degree.
Yeah, this was after.
Okay.
My parents were in Guam.
Mm-hmm.
They needed teachers in Guam, and my parents were both teachers. And so that's where we headed. And in fact, go backwards even 10 years before that, I went to high school in Guam. That's where I went to the Catholic Boys High School.
Interesting.
So I, all told, spent 3 years on that island, and beautiful island.
How did your parents even find that opportunity at first?
Well, I guess they saw an ad that said, we need teachers in Guam.
Well, that works. I'm noticing a simplicity with your family.
Yeah, I know.
Ad, go.
Yeah,
This,
boom,
go.
boom,
I'm like,
boom.
man,
It's
this is
I
nice.
know, the pick up and go.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful, absolutely. And so...
Please don't tell me they were playing country during the day.
No,
I was going to laugh so hard.
No.
I was like, it was
No,
there all
no,
along.
I wasn't there. No, absolutely. Oh, thank you.
You're like, only so much.
But yeah, it was only 1 hour, and so I felt deprived. Let's put it that way. And I'd find myself at the airport watching the planes take off and going, I wish I was on that one there. I don't know where they're going, but
Time
any
to
place
go.
but here.
Because how long were you there? I know you said high school years.
So high school, 2 years. My
Yep.
last 2 years of high school, and then I came back to the States, and I missed a grand opportunity. My parents were traveling around the world at that time. They said, son, we can take you to Japan if you'd like. But I think even at that time, they were having the Olympics there. But anyway, I said, no, I'm going the other way. We
Yeah.
got some parallels there for sure. So yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm done with this place. But then I came out 10 years later as a guidance counselor. So anyway, where is that? Um, I feel like, so I was listening to that inner voice. So I feel like that's been guiding me ever
How did
since.
it feel? What we were talking about too is this idea of the circle, right?
Yeah.
So when you're going through the mystic lessons again, you're pulling out themes. Now you're back in Guam. Was there anything that felt different or the same?
Well, I felt like I wasn't in community with the kinds of people that would further that spiritual development and growth. So, I mean, they're great people and lovely people, and they serve some mean barbecues, I'll tell you.
Oh, great.
And here I am, the second time I was on the island, I was about ready to come back, and here I am at one of these barbecues on the beach, and the palm trees are going back and forth, and the waves are coming in, and the sun is setting, and it's like, why am I leaving paradise?
Yeah.
But there's got to be a bigger mission. There was a bigger mission, and I just didn't know what it was.
Simplicity is a great thing for clarity, though.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about watching the plains and the palm trees, I'm like, we don't get a lot of quiet moments like that anymore.
No, we don't. And so if we find our own sanctuary, whether it be in our house or what I do a lot of times, I take these music retreats for myself, and I go up to Estes Park, rent a cabin, take my guitar, take a pad of paper, bottle of wine, and I start writing music. So we need to squirrel away those times for ourselves because that's important.
They're so important.
I totally agree with that.
And especially I'm thinking about you being counselor to 700 people, which I think there's a little bit of irony of like, I'm going to get out of broadcasting so I can do one-to-one instead of one-to-many. And here you are with a tiny, giant group of small people. Like,
very good observation.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, absolutely. So I realized at that time with those 700 kids, when we had a career day, I said, this is kind of fun. I'd like to do this maybe with an older group of people.
Okay.
And so then my focus was, I'm going to do career counseling with adults.
Why career?
Because there's something about that being a purpose in life for people. You know, it may not be the end all and whatnot. I mean, some people take circuitous routes toward their spiritual path and so forth. But for me, I can help people with that very important question. What are you going to do with your life?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do that at the college level. And so that's what brought me out to Colorado, was to work on something that would help me focus.
Had you been to Colorado before you decided to move?
No, but I was telling Ray that my Mercury line is here.
I was going to ask you about astrocartography. I was going to ask because I'm thinking like there's got to be something in Guam for you.
Oh, well, yeah, you know what was in Guam for me?
Huh.
A crisscrossing of Venus and Mars.
I knew it. I was like, the way you're describing it.
Love,
and
hate.
will you explain what
Yeah,
astrocartography is?
right.
Real quick, like a brief overview before we get into your lines.
All right. So, astrocartography is a way to map the planetary energies onto the world so that you can see where you might find certain kinds of qualities. If you're looking for Venus, then you're looking for love and beauty and attraction and expression of art and creative arts and those kinds of things. If you're looking at Mercury like I did, you're looking at a place where you could expand your knowledge, you could study, you could learn counseling like I did, write, be expressive.
So
You're listening to your inner self, right?
I go back and forth. I'm getting more consistent.
Yeah.
I was interested that astrocartography can help you understand the energy around places. I was interested in like Guam. I'm like, there's got to be a line there for you.
Yeah, the Venus crisscross with Mars, love, hate. And I had to come to Colorado and do my thing here. And I've never looked back, and that was some 40-something years ago.
I was about to say, because like I don't want to skip too far ahead, but I know you were teaching for 30 years in Colorado, University of Colorado.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, I'm like, how did you get here?
Yeah. No, thank you, Mercury.
So when you first moved here, you're thinking about career counseling for adults.
Right.
How did it start?
Well, I was studying educational psychology at the University of Colorado, and I was blessed, absolutely blessed, to come in contact with a mentor who was working at the Career Center because, that was my objective. And so, of course, they saw my application and said, oh, this would be a good person for Dr. Howard Rosenberg to supervise. And so I did my intern and practicum and all those kinds of juicy experiences at the Career Center. And wouldn't you know, when I graduated, somebody from the office said, I'm quitting. And there was an opening.
You're like,
And so,
that's nice.
boom.
Wait,
mean,
I want to talk about the mentor too because I'm so bad at telling people like they're like you've had so many mentors, how'd you find them? I'm like, I'm not trying to be cheesy,
no,
but they found me.
they found you. Absolutely. And that's what happened here. And we went on, we had a wonderful collegial relationship. It was a wonderful ride. But that was like, I needed to do something to have a steady income. And at the time, it's like, oh, okay, all this other stuff, my
It's
healing,
just in the background.
my music and my astrology is like back here. But now that I'm retired, and I've been retired now 10 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. And I get to just dabble in all my various interests.
And I think sometimes we also discount bringing that into traditional spaces.
Yeah.
Like I've been saying a lot that like we need spirituality, we need we need all of these things in traditional spaces.
Yeah.
So it makes me happy when people are like, I was doing this and I was bringing a career, but like you're bringing all of yourself in those
Right.
spaces.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing is I must confess, I do not use astrology a lot to guide myself
Why?
because I trust this. It hasn't steered me wrong, I don't think.
I don't think so either. And I'm like, I'm getting a whole life recap. I'm feeling good.
So I'll look at it and it's okay, well, Jupiter's going through my 10th house, so, this thing that Raven's doing, that sounds like a good opportunity.
I was like, 10th house is career and public image, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And Jupiter expands everything, so, it's like, let's do that,
Yeah.
And
Jupiter is in Cancer right now? Does that sound right?
Well, okay.
Shows you where I'm at.
It's in Cancer, yeah. I have to think in two languages because, there's the Western, there's the Sidereal.
I was about to say, one thing I want to talk about is, so astrology kind of entered your life when you're in this mystic school and in
Yeah.
these correspondence.
Yeah.
But Western versus Vedic, I think it's the first time I've like heard of Vedic, like in the last like year or two.
Really?
Yes. Honestly, I think Western astrology has become so popularized,
it is.
especially with like Gen Z and the younger generations.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'd love to learn like which one did you learn first? Could you describe like each one and how they're different?
It was Western, for sure. Back to Buffalo, I was at a party and there was a box of books. And the host said, take what you want. We don't need these books anymore. So, okay. Oh, wow. Linda Goodman's Sun Signs. Let's take this one. And at the time, I was dating a young lady, and she decided to go a different way. And I go, whoa, where'd that come from? And so I thought, well, maybe astrology can answer that question. See, I don't like surprises, and that was a surprise.
Yeah.
And so I wanted something that could kind of map it out, maybe not map it out to the T, and I have to follow it to a T because I have that inner guidance system. But there's got to be something that would have foretold this, and I think astrology was that. So I started out with Western, like a lot of people did back in those days. And then, so I guess it's been over 50 years now.
And I think that's how most of us find tarot, astrology, etc. Because heartbreak or something's happening or we're feeling out of control, and there's something really nice about being like, there's something written
to kind of get you back on a track.
Exactly.
Because you feel like you've been derailed.
I love that you said, like, I don't like surprises. I wish I could have had something, that would give me a heads up. Because I say to people, like, with tarot, I have the philosophy it's a snapshot.
Yeah.
You could wake up the next day, you have free will. It's a beautiful part of this whole experiment. And change something, and the cards will change. But you have this energy you can work with.
Yeah.
And at least that's how I feel about astrology, where I'm like, I'm not looking to get my fortune told. I'm looking, how do I work best with the energy that's happening right now?
And it's like, for me, it's a drone. I've got this ability to operate this drone and go down the highway a little bit. And I see this bump in the road that you're traveling on. And you're going 60, 65 miles an hour. And I'm saying, there's a bump in the road coming up. Now, how do you want to navigate this? You want to kind of go over at full speed ahead?
Yeah.
You want to slow down? You want to drive around it? You want to take a different route?
I wish I met you like a year and a half ago because I'm doing my Saturn return. It's in Pisces.
Oh boy, you're having fun, aren't you?
No, I'm not. But I'm very grateful. Like, I feel bad because I'm not trying to scare people. You know what I mean? And everyone's like, my Saturn return was great. And I glowed up. I'm like, this is horrifying. Like, nothing in my life has remained the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I'm having a Saturn thing on my angle right now. And it's like, okay, I'm paying attention.
Yeah. When was your initial Saturn return in that like 28 to 30 realm? Was this when you started getting the correspondence and mystic school, did that line up,
Oh, that
or
was
was it
before
different? Wow.
Yeah, you can look at Saturn returns as turning points. You make a decision to kind of do curly Q in your route. And so my curly Q was to come out here to Colorado.
Oh, I love that timing.
Yeah, but Saturn can mean, like all those things you mentioned, it can mean separation. So I had to separate from my grandmother, which was hard because, she kind of brought me in. And we were buds for, several years. It was hard. But
Beautiful way to say it, though, where you're like, it's part of that process of becoming.
absolutely. Absolutely. And there were signs that along the way too. Like 3 pennies on the road. It's like, I didn't see those pennies when I was walking out to get the newspaper to begin with. All of a sudden, it's time to go.
Well, to your point too, I think it's interesting. Once I started learning about how to return in my own chart, and I started getting obsessive about the people in my life. And most of us were going through the Saturn return in Pisces at the same time, including my ex-partner. And all of a sudden, watching my relationship shift of who was leaning into that energy and who wasn't. And there's no judgment on the people that didn't lean in. If anything, I get a little jealous sometimes. But it's interesting watching who leans into that energy and who says, I'm listening to the pennies and no pennies.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's changed my life of like who's around in that community we kind of talked about in the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's been beautiful.
The community, absolutely. We go back to that all the time. And I like to think when I was driving, here I am on the highway with all these people. And typically you'd think, I'm in this traffic jam. You grumble and grumble. But I'm looking at these people as all on their path at that moment in their car, going to work or going to wherever, their coffee or whatever. But the idea is we're all on that road together, aren't we? And so the more that we, number one, recognize that we are all in the same boat, and we all have our own stories. And number two, that we all have a need for help along the way, whether it be in the form of mentorship, whether it be in the form of community, whether it be in the form of friendships or whatever. We're here to assist each other across that finish line. And so I love to think that we have this sense of bodying this communal spirit that goes somewhere. And we all are kind of like putting our arms around each other and we're kind of going that.
But you made such a great point of sometimes I think we miss little moments that turn into bigger opportunities. So I love there's some folks in my life of like, how did you find this community? Like, I would love to feel like that sense of belonging. And here you are making a great point of, have you just checked the immediate people around you? Have you started to shift your mindset? We're all on this highway.
Oh my gosh.
And we're all people in this collective.
Yeah. Even the people that can kind of tick you off because they're cutting in front of you.
Oh, yeah. And again, East Coast. I haven't found spiritual maturity with people cutting me off in traffic.
I mean, Buffalo, that had its own moments, but you're right. It's a crazy world. And so we come into it for our own various reasons. And to help each other out with that, I think is so important. And I think the other key to that is understanding. The more we understand not only other people and their motivation, how they're doing and how they're going and where they're going, understanding ourselves. I love this quote. Thich Nhat Hanh said once that understanding has a twin relationship with love. If you don't have understanding, you can't love. And so when you think about that, it's like, well, the more you understand, go deep within yourself, the more you understand other people, the more you love yourself, the more you love other people. I mean, wow, that's a brain blower to me because it's like, wow, isn't that why we're here?
Going back to Saturn, I think that was one of my other lessons of my capacity for love and empathy has never been bigger. And one of my good friends, she's 10 years older and she's been on the path for a while. And she said something that really stuck with me out of all the wisdom of how often does someone open the door for you and you don't even acknowledge it as a little wink from the universe? How often does a friend pay for a dinner or pick you up and drive you to the airport or like a coffee in front of you buys your... she's like, you're missing the moments of love. And here you are trying to call it in. Love for my career, love for this, love. And she's like, but you're missing the frequency in the language.
What wise advice that is.
It changed my whole life. And I'm finding that I get more generosity from folks and I give more generosity now that I'm like tuned in. Like when I think of the collective and I'm like, what about the person in front of me?
Absolutely. That's where you start. And believe it or not, will be in my mind tonight before I go to sleep, because every night I do a gratefulness kind of mantra. And I think of the people that I've interacted with and experiences that I've had, And I just go down the list and say, thankful for that. And he kind of sighed.
When did you start this practice?
Many years ago. What a great way to go into sleep. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, I have some very
That's where we do our best work.
I know. I had some very good sound sleep dreams and so forth. And I think you just have to put yourself in that position to be grateful, thankful for everything that you're exposed to.
Is this something you also kind of started picking up when you were working with clients and working with them finding their purpose?
Oh yeah, that's always a big part of it is gratefulness. You can be so caught up into this isn't working, that's not working. You know, what is working? What can you be grateful for? Find that out.
What advice do you have for people that are struggling with gratitude in a season of suffering?
Yeah, well, there's a big thing out there, and I'm not talking about one thing in particular, but
Right.
It's a big world that's going through this transition, right? So the idea is not to get overwhelmed by that, because we can so easily get overwhelmed if we try to take it so far outside ourselves. So if we bring it back to ourselves, what can I do to be a neighbor and to be friends and to love and support each other, like to you, people in the room, then you start that way and you watch that ripple out to the whole world.
Something that's been hard to watch for me
Yeah.
is as my empathy and understanding has increased, the more I get sad for folks that are struggling to like have that space for other people that aren't feeling the same way.
Yeah.
But I also understand it because some of these beliefs and things that are happening are having direct harm on communities, direct harms on our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big philosophical question, but how do we start bridging that gap?
How do we bridge the gap?
Would you like to solve world peace today? That's really my question.
Sure. If I would want to be president, I wouldn't want to be a world leader. That's not my role. And so I think the answer to that question is, what is your role? And I've always claimed that we're not all meant to be on the same size stage as everybody else. You know, my stage has been rather small, and I'm happy with that. And so you do the best with that stage as you can. And that's where it starts. And see where that leads. And not get drowned into what's going on out there. Be attentive to it, of course, but to acknowledge that there's a lot of work here and here and here that can also help.
For folks that are still getting in touch with like that inner knowing
Yeah.
and figuring out where their stage is
Yeah.
astrology a tool that can help them for that?
Yes. So astrology is a message from the stars. Show us who we are, what our path may be, and where that bump in the road is. And so I like to think that astrology can help us get a bead on those kinds of questions that we might have. And whether it be Western or Vedic, and I've done both, and I've actually years ago done research to compare the two. I would give you, I did this with 30 of my friends and relatives. I give them descriptions of Mercury and Sagittarius from the Western interpretation, and then maybe Mercury and Scorpio for the Vedic interpretation. It's like, okay, now which one fits better?
Oh, I love that. Okay, so what is the difference between Western and Vedic?
Okay, we can come to that.
Because honestly, I'm selfishly asking for me too, because
Well-
I find Western to be the most talked about, at least right now.
Yeah. So Western, okay, so March 20th comes around, and what do we call that? The spring equinox, right? So that's when Western astrologers say, okay, that's the start of Aries. Boom. And so the whole zodiacal.
I was
wheel-
going to say, I was like, a circle?
Yeah. Circle begins then. The fact of the matter is that Earth has been precessing on its equinoxes for thousands and thousands of years, and will continue to do so. And so our perspective of where we line up differs every several thousand years. So maybe several thousand years ago, there was a lineup, so when March 20th comes around and you actually look at where the sun is, today, it's not in Aries. I hate to break it to you.
I was like, some Aries are going to be very upset.
I know, but it's in Pisces. That's why we say we're in the age of Pisces.
Yeah.
Because, that if we use that as our demarcation point, so the constellation that's actually sitting behind the sun is actually Pisces. It's about 6 degrees something Pisces right now. It'll take us another 400, 500 years before we actually, boom, jump into the age of Aquarius.
Oh,
We're on the
wow.
dawning of the age of Aquarius, which is that popular song that we had.
Also, geez, this is the dawn. We're not even in it yet.
No, but we're feeling.
I'm already sweaty.
Can you feel though what Aquarius is all about?
I'm like a little mad at you right now. Like I know it's not your fault. You're just the messenger.
I'm just the messenger.
But I'm like, it's already chaotic.
It's already chaotic. But isn't that true of life in general and ages in general? Whenever there's a shift, whenever you go from one to the other,
Yeah.
there's always going to be that chaos. And that's always true. And when I'm looking at charts and I see, like Saturn returns, or as in Vedic astrology, I see dashas. And I will get to your question about the difference between the two. But I think I was kind of getting to that when I was talking about that we use in Vedic astrology a kind of a different nomenclature. No, we use the same nomenclature, but a different starting point, let's say, where the zodiac begins. And so
Where does I don't know how to ask the question. Like, I'm trying to think from a historical lens, like how Western and Vedic started like using different time systems. Like, was there a certain like cultural or lineage that that split happened?
Vedic's been using their system. So if you look at Vedic, it comes from the Vedas, and the Vedas are thousands and thousands, 5,000, 7,000 years old. It's an oral tradition, and you've got all these wise sages that have kind of looked at how things go up there, and they're using a star-based system. So in other words, when we look at how planets are progressing through signs, we're looking at the actual signs, as I mentioned. Whereas with Western, what they're looking at is not so much signs, but the seasons. It's a very seasonal-based astrology.
Yeah.
And so spring comes, okay, we're in Aries. Fall comes, then we're in Libra. That's
When people come to you for readings and they're newer to astrology, do they tend to like gravitate toward one or the other? Do you have a conversation with them? Like for folks that are trying to figure out both or one.
Usually people seek me out because I am a Vedic astrologer. They want to know that. And I do believe, I came across Vedic over 20 years ago, 2004, 21 years ago. Simply because I had heard about it, and I've been practicing up until that time Western astrology.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I was in the Lighthouse bookstore in Boulder, and if you know that place,
It has its own vortex vibe.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
we were just in there the other day.
And that was before I knew any of this stuff, and I walked in and was like, what's
Whoa,
happening here? Yeah.
So there was a book that called out to me, and I picked it up and said, oh, okay.
You and books finding you. I'm thinking of what you're talking about, that book. You're like, they were getting rid of them, and there it was.
Yeah,
just
there it was.
sun signs were right there.
Right. Vedic astrology. And it was written by a gentleman named David Hawthorne in conjunction with Professor V.K. Choudhry from India. And so I read it, and I said, this is Vedic astrology? Oh, this is pretty cool.
Wow.
It was a particular kind of Vedic astrology called systems approach. And so I called David up. He lives in Iowa. And I said, I just read your book, and I'm interested in a reading. I'd like to see myself in perspective
Wow.
of Vedic astrology now. And so he did that, and it was like, woo, socks blown.
How did you feel that, because obviously you know your Western chart so well at this point.
Yeah, it's like
how did it feel comparing the two?
paradigm shift.
Wow, okay, that's big.
Well, especially like we were talking about, if you were born with 3 planets in Pisces, you go, okay, I'm this watery, mushy guy, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then now they're in Aquarius. It's like, what?
Oh yeah, that's a huge, in my mind, for the limited I know, like Pisces and Aquarius, my friends are very different.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's only one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
There are other planets too that shift. And so there's maybe another planet or two that is taking up that slack that can also answer to that Piscean energy that you thought you had.
You're like, that's why I still relate to it. It's just different language and categories.
Yeah, which kind of brings me back to that research project I did. Basically, the end result was and I did a statistical t-test. Is there a statistical difference between these two groups of answers? And the folks.
Oh, that's what you're talking about when you're like Mercury and Scorpio versus Mercury and something else.
Yeah, and there wasn't, with a couple of exceptions, but they were small. So the idea was there is room in this universe for both.
Love that.
So back to the both and kind of thing. There is room for both. And the idea is that both can help you. The Western side can help you just as much as the Eastern or Vedic or sidereal side can help
Right.
you. And so I don't cast aspersions on it. I still listen to podcasts from the Western astrologer.
Yeah.
I go to conferences where they talk about Western astrology a lot. But I also listen to podcasts for the other side too. And so the idea is we can be helped by both. But what I find, in answer to your question, a kind of long way.
I'm enjoying the journey.
Oh, thanks.
I'm like, I'm having a nice time.
Is when people contact me about the Vedic
Yeah.
and say, oh, you do Vedic? Yeah, okay, well, all right. So what happens is you're ready for a shift in consciousness at that time.
Wow.
And I remember doing, and this is a well-known astrologer who's written a book in Boulder. And she said, let's do a trade. I'd like to know Vedic. And she told me the Western side, which she gave me some nice insights that I hadn't known as a Western astrologer. And then I gave her the Vedic side, and it's like, whoa. So the idea is that when you're ready for it, it'll come to you, and that'll give you a different perspective. So yeah, do I see myself as an Aquarian? Yes, totally. But what took up the slack? Well, now I have Jupiter in Pisces in my Vedic chart. Jupiter is like massive, right?
Yeah.
And Pisces is water, so massive water. I still have massive water. So you have to kind of
Balance it.
where it all.
But I like what you said about there being room for all of it, because I think about, I'm like a knowledge junkie.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like there's never one thing that I fully 100% am in on. Like I love the Enneagram. I
Oh,
love
my-
astrology. I love numerology.
I'm with you.
Right? So I'm like,
Numerology, yeah.
I say to people all the
Chemistry.
time, I'm like, I wish there was one book
Yeah.
to solve everything, but it's never going to happen. Like our job is to learn as much as we can and take what we need and like leave the rest.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate that, because I think, again, I'm new to Vedic.
Yeah.
But I love this idea of see where you gravitate. Are you ready for this consciousness? What feels good? What do you need right now?
Absolutely.
Instead of this is superior and here's why.
Yeah, no. And if people want me to do the Western, I'll do the Western.
Why do you think Western has become more popularized right now?
I think it's the quest for truth. People want to know more about themselves. They want to know more about their path. They want to know more about their relationships. They want to know about where they're going to live, and these questions that can be answered fundamentally by the science of the stars. And when you talk about Vedic astrology, and you talk about what the name in Sanskrit is, it's Jyotish, which means science of light. Shedding light on the path of the journeyman or the journey person with this knowledge.
When people come to a reading with you for the first time,
Yeah.
what are some patterns or themes you've seen from them kind of getting this new information about themselves?
Well, certainly it's like, whoa, they have to kind of divorce themselves from the fact that they're Sun in Taurus or whatever, and kind of look at themselves in a different way. And the more they sit with it, the better. I can recall a recent consultation I did with a lady, and she wanted to know, how come I don't have these satisfying relationships? I divorced my husband when I was 27, and I've had this series of relationships that just don't work out. And I looked at her chart and I said, well, you've got, the ruler of the second house is like, and she said, wow, no one's ever explained it that way to me before.
Oh.
But the thing is, with any kind of astrology, Western or Vedic, and especially with Vedic, what I like about it is that we can give what we call remedial measures or astral remedies, ways that you can work with the energies of the planet. So here's what you do about it, okay? So you want to do these chants, you want to wear these colors or these gemstones,
Yeah.
you want to do these charities, and be sincere and consistent about those, and you'll find that you can just about go over that bump at 60 miles an hour.
You've tapped on something I think about a lot, which is talk therapy changed my life.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family, we didn't talk about issues, we buried it very deep until, and so talk therapy really got me into this place of being able to express and whatever it is. And then I kind of hit this point where the spiritual tools were giving me more faster.
Yeah.
Not that one or the other was more important. I think they were just different parts of the journey. But I'm sensing and seeing this trend right now.
Oh, yeah.
That people are turning more towards
Well, that's
astrology and tarot. And I'd love to know, because you were in psychology. That was...
Yeah. Well, I was trained in talk therapy.
Yeah.
Rogerian, Albert Ellis, RET. I mean, I did all that stuff. And it was slow. You know, people, and again, it's because of the Aquarian age we're in or approaching. We're feeling the vibration of quicker, faster.
Right.
Okay? And so Aquarian is an air sign. Some people think it's water sign because it's the water bearer, but it's an air sign. And so a lot of what's coming to us is through the air, through the ethers. And so people are getting stuff faster and quicker. And so when I discovered tapping, which is another form of healing I do, which is thought field therapy.
As I say, I love anything somatic. That was a huge game changer for me as well.
And I said the same thing. I said, you know, wow, this has got to work for people. Wow, boom, let's try this. And
I do it after meetings.
yeah,
So if like a meeting was really, really intense, I usually like sit in the room, you know, like turn off the screen and
yeah, go for it.
I just like bring myself back in. But it's so funny if anyone looks in the window, I'm just like, you know, but it's so helpful.
It is, and it's so quick, and it's easy, and it's painless, and it's non-pharmaceutical, and what can you say?
Right.
So that's another one of my loves, but astrology can be the same way. You're just looking at data, but if you're using the remedial measures, you can navigate life a little bit more easy.
Do you think there's any upsides or downsides to people starting to like move more towards that quick answers rather than the longer processes of talk therapy?
Is there advantage to it?
Or downsides?
Or downsides? Well, I think maybe expectations might be higher. You know, you go, well, this has got to work. And if it doesn't right away, could be for a whole amalgam of other reasons. So you just kind of have to be patient, like anything. But I think the quicker therapies, if you will, do have their role in society, and they certainly do a good job, and I've seen that. So, yeah, just be patient with it, though, still, and don't expect overnight results.
Yeah.
I mean, even with tapping, in some of these.
I felt so dumb when I started doing it.
Oh, yeah.
When I first started, because, again, I'm someone I can live up here and here all day.
Yeah, of course.
Coming into my body has been one of the biggest lessons the last couple of years. But I remember the first time I was tapping, I was like, I look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is so stupid. Why am I doing this? And now it's my primary way of bringing myself back.
Absolutely. You found a way, and that's wonderful. But you have to use it every day. It's not a panacea for everything in one-shot deal, right?
Well said.
So it's consistent use. So I think that's the lesson that we need to learn. The downside, if you will, is we need to realize that unfolding still is a process that takes time, and so we got to give it the time, even though we have the best resources available to us at the moment. Now there are miraculous cures, if you will, that have been reported and so forth. I can't claim that I've done any of them, otherwise I'd be a saint or something.
Yeah.
But the thing is, just realize that if you're patient, then you must have recognized that. I gotta clear my throat.
No, it's good. Take a second.
Thank you.
We're bouncing around from childhood to world peace to astrology to, you know?
There we go. Yeah, that helped. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. The other reason I was asking is, I had the funniest conversation. Something I really appreciate about my mom is that she's a total nerd. And she's like insatiable about new things. And so I've been teaching her about AI and ChatGPT. And we've had some good conversations too about like the ethics around it. And like, don't use it for everything. Like, be a little bit intentional. Because I'm not like anti or for. I'm like, let's just be intentional. Absolutely. And so the reason I bring it up in this conversation is there's a lot of people using it as therapy.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm seeing more and more content around people being like, ChatGPT is the best therapy. And I'm like, listen, I love ChatGPT. I use it. I've been using it for astrological insights sometimes. Okay. But as someone who has gone traditional therapy and done all these things, and I have this beautiful in-person mentorship and like learning in my community, it scares me a little bit too.
Well, the one thing that AI and ChatGPT and all those acting as therapists can't do is they can't give you a hug. And so where's the heart? Yeah, it sounds good. It's like, wow, I wish my other therapist would have said that, or I wish my parents would have said that. But in the final analysis, they can't act personally with you. I guess that's where I stand right now with it. But
well, it's changing so fast. I say to people all the time, like, can we just give ourselves a second?
Yeah.
You know, like everyone's coming up with these huge hard lines on it. And I'm like, good question, everything. But at the same time, it's starting to blend into the spiritual community. It's blending into therapy. It's blending into, it's everywhere.
I was just at a conference, vibrational astrology conference in Florida. And they had a panel, especially on this topic. How is ChatGPT AI going to affect the future of astrology?
Yeah.
And basically every single panelist to the letter said, get on board. find a way to use it. It may not supplant astrology, but it can help you with research, and I've used it for research purposes. I've used it for other purposes, historical research.
My gardening planning.
Oh, there you go.
My lettuce is thriving because of ChatGPT.
Is that a fact?
I'm being dead serious. Like, I had it plan my whole garden out.
How's that?
Amazing. Like, I put in, like, here's my zone. Here's what I think I want to do. I'm a total dodo bird.
Yeah.
Help me out, you
Right,
know?
right.
And I say to people, like, it is fun to, like, use it for serious and non-serious things.
Mm-hmm.
And astrology, too, because it's something that I'm, like, just learning, but I want to be cautious and I want to, like, go to people in person. But I have these quick questions.
Yeah.
And it's helping me build the muscle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it's good. I think from an intellectual, mental standpoint, it just kind of gives you a little background.
Yeah.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I hope if we ever get together and talk about your chart.
Oh, it's too late. You're stuck with me now. I'm all in. Yeah, I was like, you can't get rid of me.
Oh, well, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. I'd love to continue this.
Yeah.
But the idea is that I can have that, what is it? The sixth sense, if you will. I'm thinking of that movie. But it's like there's a sixth sense that AI probably doesn't have that I hope I could lend to it. Not to say that, and I guess there are some astrologers who call themselves intuitive astrologers, and that's great because you do need some foundational work to know what the planets mean and all that stuff. But then you work from there. My teacher from India, he was more left brain. This is how you do it. And so if you go to any systems approach astrologer, you'll find that we pretty much do it the same way.
Yes.
But I was told once, wow, I've been to several systems approach astrologers. You've got heart. And it's like, well, okay, isn't there a way that we can transmit that during the course of the reading and make what I can see about your chart a little more palatable and work with you on it and find ways that...
I feel the same way. You're like, I need the outcome, and then we'll work our way.
Right.
And I was that person 3 years ago. I'm the person that needed the hug. So it's like, I don't even think it from the practitioner side. I think of it as the person that needed that hug.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like so grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for your time.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here chatting with you.